Okay, welcome everybody, and we're happy to see you. So this is, of course, the International Graduate Student Pre-Arrival Online Forum. We'll do some introductions here in just a moment, but first, let's talk about what's on the agenda today. And so, of course, we're going to welcome you to the IRA Fulton Schools of Engineering here at ASU. We're going to talk about a lot of other different matters that are very important in terms of what you need to do to get started here at ASU and what you do when you arrive here in Arizona. And so we're going to get to all that in just a moment. So first of all, a little bit about introductions. My name is Pat Phelan. I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate Programs here in engineering. So I'm joined here by Jeremy Helm. He's the Director of Academic Administration and Student Success, also within engineering. We have Mike Mobley. He's the Director of ASU Graduate Admissions. And finally, not last but least, we have Holly Singh. He's the Senior Director of the ASU International Students and Scholars Center. And so I'm going to start by first of all saying congratulations. You've been admitted to ASU College of Engineering, and that's wonderful. Now, I suspect, and we suspect that most of the attendees here are listening in from India, but that's not necessarily the case. So welcome, whatever country you're from. So first of all, there are some very important points I want to make. ASU is the #1 public university in the United States for international students. And so we have more than 10,000 international students. That constitutes about 14% of our student body. So international students like yourselves are extremely important to us, and we're very happy to have you here. And by the way, those 10,000 students represent something like 136 countries around the world. So really, ASU is an extremely diverse place. We're also very proud of some of our other statistics as well. So you see, for example, we're very high in terms of employability. So how do our graduates do in terms of finding work after graduation? They actually do very, very well. And there at the bottom is a statistic that we're exceptionally proud of, and that is we're #1 in the United States for innovation. And now that's 2 years in a row. And you can see we beat out MIT and Stanford for that honor. And so again, that's something that we're indeed very, very proud of. So a little bit more about the IRA Fulton Schools of Engineering. You probably know quite a bit about it already, but it doesn't hurt to kind of review, what this means. And actually, the Fulton Schools of Engineering is a very large college here at the university. And so it comprises of 6 schools, as you can see listed here. So ranging from the School of Biological and Health Systems Engineering, all the way to the right-hand side to the Polytechnic School and everything in between. I suspect many of you perhaps are in what we call the School of Computing, Informatics, and Decision Systems Engineering. So that includes programs like, for example, computer science. It includes computer engineering, at least the computer science concentration. It also includes software engineering as well. Now, my own home school is the School for Engineering of Matter, Transport, and Energy. And so that includes mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, chemical engineering, material science and engineering, as well as a solar engineering and commercialization program. And so if you want to know more about these schools, and let's say, there might be some people on the line who haven't actually been admitted yet, or maybe they haven't even applied yet. If you're interested in learning more about engineering at ASU, then I encourage you to go to those websites that are given here at the bottom of the screen. So another question you might have is physically, where are these schools located? Now, so the majority of the engineering schools are located on the Tempe campus, and so you can see that marked here on the map. But a significant fraction of our programs are located on what we call the Polytechnic campus, and that is located in Mesa, Arizona, and it's somewhat further to the east. It's still within the Phoenix metropolitan area, but it's further to the east. So all the programs associated with the Polytechnic School are located at the Polytechnic campus, as is the software engineering program, which some of you might have been admitted to. So with that, I'm going to switch gears now, and now go on to my colleague, Mike.
Hi there, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. I want to go over the priority tasks in your MyASU account. Your MyASU portal is essentially your #1 resource for information as a student at ASU. So if you have any questions about what are the next steps you need to take, if you have questions about your finances or registering for classes, that's all going to be housed within your MyASU account. The primary thing that we want you all to focus on are your priority tasks within your MyASU account. You'll see we have that circled on the screen right now, but basically, if there's anything you need to do prior to your arrival here at ASU, it's going to be listed in there. And so the example we've shown includes things like your financial guarantee, your bank statement, maybe your passport. There's a graduate admissions hold, a degree certificate hold. Those are all things that need to be completed prior to coming to ASU. In fact, some of those holds will prevent you from securing your I-20 to come to ASU. Now, there have been some questions about processing the financial guarantee and bank statement and passports that you've sent in. Do not worry, we are processing those. This is our busiest time of the year, and students who have a longer hold period at their local consulates are given that priority. That we want to scan in and match those documents and issue an I-20 fastest for those students. But we will make sure that all of your I-20 documents are processed and your I-20 is issued by any sort of deadline that you may have. So look for any updates on your MyASU account. Once your I-20 is issued, you'll receive an email that says your I-20 has been sent to you, and under the My Programs tab on the right-hand column of your MyASU page, where it says the program you've been admitted to in blue, if you click on that, it will expand and actually be able to see your CVIS ID number. So you won't have to wait to get that I-20 in the mail in order to make that appointment at your consulate. So again, you'll receive an email for that. So if you have sent in those documents, we are processing those. Just look for an email once those documents have been processed. And on the next screen, kind of zoom in on those a little bit more, and you can kind of get an idea of what that looks like. Again, your degree certificate, that's something you can bring when you arrive here on campus. There's the passport again, proof of finances, financial guarantee. Those are all things, again, necessary for your arrival here at ASU. There's an MMR immunization. That is actually something that you don't send admissions. You'll send that to immunization@asu.edu, or you can contact our Student Health Services Department for more information about securing that MMR immunization. It's also something you can do here on campus once you arrive, if it's not something you haven't done already. So go on to the next screen there. A new feature that we've added this year, and it's really important. It might be a little bit late for most of the folks on the online right now, but ASU will accept student loans from banks in India as your proof of finances for your I-20 processing. So what we've seen in the past is a lot of students will get an approval with a bank in India to secure financial aid for their program, but we required that money to be dispersed into your bank account before we would issue an I-20. Well, we've eliminated that holdup for all of our students from India that have that proof of financing option. So your bank loan eligibility letter must state that you're eligible for education loans for study in the U.S., and that verbiage is on your financial guarantee. But essentially, you can give us that approval document from your bank as proof of finances, so you can get your I-20 based on that information. That is a big change, and we're really proud that we're able to do that. And that was something that was initiated and changed by students at ASU who really advocated for us to work through that process. And we've done that. In fact, it was Holly's work and Pat Phelan's work in India recently that kind of initiated that change. So we're really excited about that, and hope you take advantage of that if that's something that you're needing. And then on the next class, or the next screen, excuse me, we'll go ahead and switch over to Jeremy.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Hi, everyone. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about classes and registering for classes. I work in the Dean's Office with Academic Administration and Student Success, and I work very closely with our team of academic advisors in the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And as you can see on that last bullet there is a difference at ASU between an academic advisor and a faculty advisor. And so academic advisors are professional staff. These are staff members who are dedicated to helping students navigate academic requirements, navigate the policies and procedures within the university and within the Fulton Schools of Engineering. A faculty advisor, on the other hand, these are the content experts. These are the folks who will teach you in your courses. These are folks who will mentor you as faculty mentors. These are folks you might engage with in research. You might join them at a professional conference and so on. And so right away, as you are admitted to the Fulton Schools of Engineering, we hope you'll be hearing from your academic advisor. Most typically, you'll receive an email from your academic advisor welcoming you to the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And they should also give you the next steps. They will tell you about how you can register for classes. They'll tell you about your orientation, which will happen in August. And they will also tell you about some of the rules and policies and procedures in the Fulton Schools of Engineering. And so, for instance, they'll tell you about the number of credits you may register for. As you can see, we want you to register for a minimum of 9 credit hours. As a graduate student, this will give you full-time status. So 9 credit hours is typically 3 classes. You can register for a maximum of 12 credit hours, which will put you above full-time status. And if you do want to take more than 9 credit hours, it's not unusual, but we recommend that you work closely with your academic advisor to ensure you're choosing the right classes. International students may register for a maximum of 3 credits for online coursework. And so again, work with your academic advisor when deciding whether or not you should take an online course. And one of the things the academic advisors ask our students to do is to make sure that you are enrolling in classes that are relevant to your program of study. And so in other words, if you're in mechanical engineering, it's probably not necessary for you to enroll in an electrical engineering or computer science graduate level course. Some students say, well, I have the ability to register before my friend or my family member, and I want to do them a favor and I want to hold a seat for them. We highly discourage that. That's not something that we would expect you to do, to hold a seat for a friend or a family member. So therefore, please only register for the classes that are relevant to your program of study. If you have any questions about that, again, talk to your academic advisor. You will register through MyASU, the MyASU portal. And you can also see how to contact your academic advisor through your MyASU portal. Now, as we approach the fall semester, classes actually begin on Thursday, August 17th. Now, as you look at a semester calendar, and we have some academic calendar dates here for you, notice that we actually have sessions within a semester. So what are sessions? Well, typically, a student in a fall semester will be taking a 15-week session C. So session C is a traditional 15-week semester, beginning in August, running through December. Session A and Session B are accelerated sessions. And so what we do is we take a 15-week semester and we compress that into 7.5 weeks. So Session A would be 7.5 weeks, first 7.5 weeks. Session B is the second 7.5 weeks. Typically, as I mentioned, you'll be taking Session C, 15 weeks. So why do we have Sessions A and Session B? We often will have online courses offered in these accelerated sessions. One of the reasons we are #1 in innovation is we have many modes of course delivery, including online, hybrid, and in person. We also have different session lengths. Again, ask your academic advisor if Session A would be appropriate for you, but more often than not, you'll probably be taking Session C, the 15-week session. So let's look at some of these dates and keep Session C in mind. Classes begin on Thursday, August 17th. After classes begin, you actually have a week to tweak your schedule of classes. So in other words, Session C begins on August 17th. You have until August 23rd to drop or add classes on your schedule of classes. Now, I will say with one caveat, classes need to be open. And as some of you might have noticed, classes are filling up. As classes fill up, we will work with the faculty and the administration to open more seats, to open more sections. And so if you're looking at classes that you need and they happen to be full, again, you can work with your academic advisor, you can work with your faculty members, but rest assured, we will do everything we can to make the classes you need available by the time the semester begins. Now, we also have a tuition fee payment deadline. And so when you sign up for classes, starting now all the way through August 23rd, you'll have until August 25th to remit your tuition payment. And there is a refund deadline of August 30th. So if you drop a class or withdraw from a class, you have until August 30th to receive a tuition refund. After that, tuition is non-refundable. We've mentioned these deadlines because we strictly adhere to these deadlines, and so we want you to be aware of them. Some students will say, I was admitted to ASU, and that's great, but maybe you can't start this fall semester. That's okay. So if you are not able to start in the fall, but you were admitted, you may request a deferral for one semester. So you can defer your admission to the spring 18 semester. Now, not all units across ASU or even the Fulton Schools of Engineering will approve deferrals. So please, again, check with your academic advisor first. To request a deferral, you go to MyASU. Again, remember that MyASU portal. Click on Request Change under My Programs and Degree Programs, and you can request a deferral that way. Keep in mind that deferrals have a non-refundable $30 processing fee, and you can only do this one time. So if you defer once to spring 18, you will not be able to defer again in the future. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Holly Singh.
Okay. We will talk a little bit about visa process and how that goes. By this time, it's understood that you've already admitted and you have your I20 with you. If you don't, as Mike had mentioned earlier, make sure you go through the process in MyASU and see where the steps are for you to receive your I20. As soon as you have the information about the CVIS ID number on your MyASU, you can apply for an appointment with the consulate or the embassy, and that's what starts the process. But before you do that, make sure you pay for the I-901 fee by going to the website that's mentioned on the slide here. And as soon as you make the appointment, then make sure you take some time to prepare yourself. The items that are listed there for the documents that you need to bring, there may be other items that need to be brought in there too. So please make sure that you get all your documents in place as you go for the appointment. It's very, very important that you are prepared for the visa appointment, because it's one chance and it's a 1 minute or 2 minutes time to impress upon the consular officer to make a case that yes, you deserve the student visa. So it's again very, very important. And there are two things that we usually talk about in visa appointments. One is making an eye contact. Make sure that when you talk to the consulate, you always make an eye contact with them. And then second, have a very confident body posture. So stand tall and kind of present yourself that yes, you want to go to U.S. for education, and your goals are to get the education that's important for you and then return back to your home country. Next steps after you get your visa is to plan for your arrival. I think many of you have already talked to your colleagues that are studying at ASU, but you may also want to connect with us to see if, for example, you need help with on or off-campus housing. Those websites listed right there would provide you that information. I understand that majority of our Indian students do talk to other students that are already here, and they usually go through the Indian Student Association to kind of connect with them. But do know that there are other resources that are available. And before the classes start, there are a few things that you need to do. Make sure you attend our orientation activities. It's very, very important that you partake what we have arranged for you. I think it's important. Understand that academics is just one aspect of your life in the U.S. and at ASU. Being engaged in other parts is as important as succeeding in academics. Make sure you do that. And of course, MyASU is your central hub for literally everything. As Mike had mentioned earlier, that all your admissions process all the steps are taken care of there. And as Jeremy had mentioned, that your academic advisor also connects with you. Similarly, the international office, the international center also emphasizes that MyASU is your hub to connect with different resources that we have. And then checking your email, your ASU email, is very, very important, because that's part of the MyASU hub. Arriving on campus, this is where I think we'll have a lot of questions. So once you've gotten the visa, once you've made arrangements for your housing, and preparing to come to campus. We do provide free super shuttle from our airport, so this Phoenix Airport. Make sure you use that facility to for free. That's something that we would want you to use, and then make sure you attend our orientation that we've established for you, along with something that unique that we're doing from last 2 years. We call it the International Graduate Student Conference, where we get all the graduate students together, all the international graduate students together, and we do a 1 day of different workshops put together. So the idea there is that for you to just connect with all newcomers and see where all you belong in terms of engineering, business, but also connect with other folks that are new to ASU, and then make sure as you get connected with other students, you also get connected with the organizations that we have, such as GPSA or ISA, Indian Student Association. And last step in that process would be to make sure that you also do a CVIS check-in. CVIS check-in confirms that you have the right documentation and you have all those submitted to us, so we can register you in the government system. Make sure, again, you follow through the MyASU portal and submit all the documents that are listed on this slide. Attending the international orientation and the International Graduate Student Conference is very, very important. Again, because you get to meet with other students, you get to meet with our staff, you get to meet with other folks on campus, and you get an idea of all the different resources that we have to offer. And the focus of the conferences and the orientation is to make sure that we are here, we welcome you, but also talk about the expectations that we have. Because the systems are very, very different, we want to be sure that you are able to see what all we offer and then utilize those resources to the best possible way.
All right, I think now we switch back to me, and so I've got a few more points I want to make, and then we're going to get to your questions, all right? And so we do have a number of questions that were submitted in advance. Thank you very much for submitting those questions. We got some actually very recently, within the last 12 hours, as a matter of fact, after the reminder email went out. But even during this Facebook Live session, you're welcome to submit additional questions through the chat box. And so we're going to do our best to answer all the questions that are submitted. So please submit your questions via the chat box if you have any at this point. So again, a few more points first before we get to these questions. And so we've already been talking about a number of the resources available on campus. This is a huge campus, campuses, I should say, and there are a lot of resources. Of course, there are academic resources, the library, there are tutoring centers, the writing center, and so forth. There is a very well-equipped health facility as well here on campus. With regards to student services, we have, of course, international students opportunities. Something that's very important for Fulton students, in other words, engineering students, would be the Engineering Career Center. That's something that's just for Fulton engineering students. And then, as Holly has been talking about, we have, of course, the International Students and Scholars Center. So another organization that's important for you to know about is with respect to student government here at ASU. And specifically, I'm talking about the Graduate and Professional Student Association. Now, this is important to you because it's an opportunity to apply for funding. And so in particular, there are grants available, especially for travel funding, but also some limited number of research funding grants too. And so, for example, this is a good way, and I've had a number of my own students take advantage of this many times over the years, to apply for funding to attend a conference to present your work. Right? So this is a very important organization to not only know about, but also to participate in, and in fact, to volunteer as much as possible in this kind of an organization, because the more you're part of that organization, the better your chances of maybe getting one of these funding opportunities, getting one of these grants in the future. Something we pointed out for students coming from India, a very important organization is the Indian Students Association, or ISA. I can't emphasize that enough. And They're a terrific organization. They're very involved. They're going to have their own online forum coming up quite soon in a couple of weeks on June 24th. And so please go to that website listed there if you're interested to learn more about the ISA, and I encourage you to do so if you're from India, and especially to participate in that June 24th online forum. On-campus employment. Almost everybody wants a job, or you need a job, or both, all right? That's true for everybody here. And so I'm happy to say that about 75% of the international graduate students in engineering have some kind of on-campus job. And so those are statistics from last fall. And so we expect that to be, consistent this coming fall as well. And so how do you do that? Well, you use the student employment job search. And so there's a screenshot shown there on the right-hand side. So you could even start looking at the opportunities now, even before you come to ASU, but I would encourage you not to apply quite yet. So I would encourage you to wait to apply until after you arrive, because actually they're going to want to see you, and they're going to want to see you start right away as much as possible. As an international student, you can work up to 20 hours a week during the academic terms, and then say during the summer, like now, you could work as much as full-time. That would be 40 hours per week. And in terms of jobs outside of campus, again, the Fulton Schools Career Center is there to help you. We want you to contact us whenever you need to, whenever you'd like to. And so there are several email addresses given here. So for example, if you want a copy of this PowerPoint slide deck, by all means, please send a note to fscgrad@asu.edu. On the other hand, if you have some questions about your admission, I20, issues like that, please contact gograd@asu.edu. And then finally, if you have questions in general about what to do in terms of when you arrive in Arizona, then you would need to contact iwelcome@asu.edu. And so with that, we move now to our questions. And so we have a few slides here that have been prepared already. These were questions that were submitted in advance, and not within the last 12 hours or so, but before that. And so we're going to start with these questions, and then we're going to switch to a different screen and then start addressing the questions that we've more recently received. And so we'll start now with the screen for I20 and Visa questions. And I'll look to my colleagues here on my left and ask them to have a look.
Okay, the first question is, I'm currently working on OPT, and the transfer release date on the CVIS is June 25th. I'm planning to travel back home. Do I require travel signature on my new I-20 from ASU? Your new I-20 from ASU would be a transfer I-20, and it will already be signed once. So make sure you take that I-20 and re-enter the US on that I-20. You do not need an additional signature on top of the first signed I-20 that you would receive as a transfer I-20. My visa got rejected and I have applied for the second time. I'm not sure of what went wrong. Could you help me, please? There is a law for U.S. non-immigrant visas where it says that you are guilty of immigrating to U.S. unless you can prove it otherwise. So that's called the 212B law. So what you need to do is you need to present all your facts in a manner that shows the consular officer that you plan to return back to U.S. or back to your home country. So the idea behind that is that if you cannot prove it, then it's difficult for them to give you the visa. So that's why it's very, very important. And you have to do all this in 1 or 2 minutes time. So it's very, very important that you present the facts of your documents to them. And understood that 1 or 2 minutes is not enough time to really present all that stuff. That's why how you present yourself in a subjective manner is sometimes more important than the objective part of getting the visa. So having that eye contact with the embassy official is very, very important. Having a body posture that shows that self-confidence in a way are very important factors in applying and getting the visa. Yes.
The next question is, can I defer my admission by 1 academic year from fall 17 to fall 18? And Jeremy kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but if your program is offered in spring 18, the answer to that is no. You can only defer to the next term that your program is available. If for some reason you've been admitted to a fall 17 program that doesn't offer a spring 18 option, yes, you could defer to fall 2018. But again, you can only defer to the next term your program is available.
All right. Airport transportation questions.
Okay, I can answer this one. So the question is, some people received a voucher with their I-20 for a free super shuttle pickup from the airport to campus when they arrive. And I haven't got a voucher. Do I have to pay for it? The answer is no. You do not have to pay for it. We do have an online registration form that will be available shortly, or be sent out in an email to everyone shortly. But if for whatever reason you don't see that email with that registration information, what you can do is arrive at the airport with your admission letter and show that admit letter to the super shuttle driver, and that they will be able to bring you to campus and bill us. So there's nothing that you need to pay for. And Super Shuttle is the name of the company that they have these blue vans and Super Shuttles written all over it. But yeah, they know to expect those admit letters as proof of registration or proof of, I guess, approval for that ride. And then the next question kind of is related. I guess the next two questions are related. Is there a free shuttle from the airport to the university? Yes, it's those blue vans. And again, that name is Super Shuttle. And then does the free shuttle service require some registration? We will be sending that registration information out to you soon, but you're not required to fill that out. Your admit letter would serve as registration. I don't recommend bringing your admit letter because who knows what could happen in transit. It might get lost, or if it's in a bag, who knows what could happen. So try to register ahead of time, and you'll have a reference number there that you'll receive. But if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, your admit letter will suffice.
And this is for new students only.
New students only, yes, yes.
Housing.
So how do I look for off-campus housing and temporary housing provided by ASU? We provided some links earlier, but if you just go to asu.edu and do a search for off-campus housing, we have a whole website that's dedicated to off-campus housing and temporary housing. So we've kind of done some research on the area around the different campus locations, whether you're here in Tempe or Polytechnic campus in Mesa, and we know some pretty good apartments. But also we do offer on-campus housing for graduate students. It's relatively limited, but there is also family housing as well. So if you are coming with a spouse and children, there are some options for you as well. For students who are not able to find housing accommodations before arriving, does ASU or any organization at ASU provide support for the first few days? Yes, there's temporary housing available. Try to get that done as much as you possibly can ahead of time. I don't recommend coming here without having your housing accommodations all set, but we are here to help support that in any way possible with temporary housing or getting an apartment. There are a lot of housing options available on both campus locations. And I have doubts about how to find housing accommodations off campus and how to pay rent. Can I book the room for my home country before coming to the U.S.? Yes, and we encourage that. Every apartment's a little bit different, so you'll want to also contact those departments. But again, go to that off-campus housing information resource on our website. That will give you all the details on how to arrange your housing prior to your arrival. And then what resources, official and other needs should I bring when I come to ASU? Is there a comprehensive list that's available? There is. ISA, yeah, Indian Student Association will have a list of materials that you should bring with you. Then my flight arrives in Phoenix around 11 o'clock at night. Do you provide any temporary accommodations in those situations? But a hotel? Or?
I think we would provide temporary accommodations, but at 11 p.m. at night, I'm not sure if our resources will be available, because by the time we come on campus, it'll be close to 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. So in late flights, I would recommend to try to get a hotel close by the airport or in Tempe area, and then next day you come to campus and we will help you get the temporary accommodations taken care of. And resources wise, I would want to add that there'll be a lot more emails that are being sent by the admissions office too. So make sure you look through those emails that will provide you all the resources that we talk about.
Registration questions.
Okay, so for some of these registration questions, these are commonly asked questions. So let's address these one by one. So how do I select the subjects for class registration? So obviously we have several subjects that we offer in the Fulton Schools of Engineering. We have different degree programs, different course prefixes, and different campuses. Right? We have the Tempe campus, the Polytechnic campus, and we can consider the online campus a campus option for students taking online courses. So to answer the question, how do I select the subject for class registration? As you were doing your research, as you selected the program in the Fulton Schools of Engineering, I'm assuming you read through the program description, you read through some of the requirements. Let's say your program is 30 credit hours. Hopefully you saw that there were courses that are going to be required in the core. There might have been related area electives. There might be concentrations or emphases. And so how you select the subject for class registration is really going to depend on your program. I would recommend that you read your graduate program handbook to understand what is required in your core, what's required as far as electives or related area courses go. And then as I keep sort of repeating here, work with your academic advisor to choose the appropriate classes that are required. And you can choose classes that are in the core and the related area, and you can balance out your schedule. The number of credits, how do the number of credits determine how difficult or hectic that the courses will be? Will it be too tiring to take 12 credits from 3 courses in the first semester? Great question. So credit hours, as the phrase would suggest, 1 credit hour suggests 1 hour per week in the classroom. So 12 credit hours means that you'll be in the classroom for 12 hours a week in a 15-week semester. But we also have a good rule of thumb that for every hour you spend in the classroom, plan on spending about 3 hours outside of the classroom for every hour in the classroom. So if you are in 12 credit hours, right, then maybe plan on 36 hours additional time engaging in homework, research, study groups, working with your faculty members. And so, yes, taking 12 credit hours really is a full-time commitment. And as we know, students are often working on campus. So you factor in your work schedule, you factor in your study schedule, and your classroom schedule. Yeah, you can quickly fill up your week. However, 12 credit hours is not what I would call overly hectic. I would consider that a more than full-time commitment. 9 credit hours would be the full-time commitment. And so I would say time management is very important here. And so as you are selecting your schedule of classes, use your calendar to do some time management and go ahead and build into your calendar about 3 hours outside the class for every hour inside the class, and then see what your week is going to look like. Schedule in some time for work, schedule in some time for sleep. Maybe you're going to be joining a student club or organization. Factor all of that in, and then you can determine how your calendar is going to look. Next question, I've been assigned 2 deficiency courses, and I've registered for 1 more regular course for a total of 9 credit hours. Can I opt for 2 more subjects in the first semester? So if you do the math on that, 9 credit hours, and you want to add 2 more courses, I'm assuming are 3 hours each, that would put you at 15 credit hours. And 15 is exceeding the 12-hour maximum. And so we can make exceptions in extraordinary circumstances. And so if you want to ask permission to take more than 12 credit hours, it's not impossible, but you need to ask permission from your academic advisor, and they'll talk to you about how you can request an overload to take more than 12 credit hours. And these are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So to answer that question is, it's possible, but you'd be requesting an exception to the rule. Which courses come under audit courses? So if you take an audit, you are sitting through a course for the knowledge, but not necessarily to receive a grade. And so if you want to apply a course towards your program of study to ultimately graduate, you don't want to audit that course. If you want to take a course just for the general knowledge and not record a grade, then you would audit the course. What courses come under audit? It varies. And so some faculty members will elect to set up a course with the option to audit. Other faculty members will not allow the audit option, and it really depends on when the course is set up and when the course is scheduled as to whether or not the audit option is available. And you will see that when you sign up for the course. What is the role of 400 level courses, and how are 400 level courses different from 500 level courses? So a 400 level course is considered undergraduate. Undergraduate courses start at the 100 level and they run through 200, 300, and 400 level. These are undergraduate or baccalaureate courses. Starting at the 500 level, these are graduate courses. And so what are the role? How are these different? So obviously undergraduate courses suggest that these are courses that would apply towards an undergraduate or bachelor's degree. And 500 and above would apply to a master's or PhD. So how are these different? Well, 500 level courses, so an undergraduate student would need permission to enroll in a 500 level course. But you all, as graduate students, might be enrolling in a 400 level course. So the question earlier was about a deficiency course. And so perhaps you are admitted to an industrial engineering program, and the program has determined, based on your academic records, that you have some deficiencies in statistics or stochastic methods, and you need to pick up a deficiencies course to give you the fundamental or baseline knowledge necessary to be successful in the graduate program. So they would recommend a 400 level course to bring you up to the level of knowledge necessary to be successful. And so in this way, a 400 level course could be a deficiency course or a foundational course, and 500 and above are the graduate level courses that you need to graduate from a graduate program.
All right, still more registration questions.
More registration questions. Okay, so I have a question regarding the number of courses and the total number of credits that a new PhD student should take. So obviously a PhD student is different than a master's student. And a PhD student right away will be working very closely with a faculty member. And so the same rules as far as 9 credit hours and 12 credit hours apply here that apply for master's students. And so again, you should probably plan on taking 9 hours minimum up to 12 credit hours. And you will be working very closely with your faculty mentor on which courses you'll be taking as a PhD student. You'll be taking organized courses and you'll be taking research courses, and this will vary from program to program. Are there any compulsory courses that a PhD student in mechanical engineering must take? Yes, and so just like a master's student, a PhD student will have some required courses that are common, and then they will have courses that they will individualize. And so again, that's where the importance of working with your academic advisor and faculty advisor comes into play. Can I take courses from material science and engineering, although I am pursuing a mechanical engineering PhD? And so I mentioned earlier about the core required courses and related area courses and elective coursework. The number of related areas and the number of elective courses are going to vary from program to program. And whether or not the mechanical engineering PhD student can take material science or electrical engineering or any of the other courses we offer is going to vary on your program, your individual situation. And so it really depends on what your academic goals are, what your professional goals are, and it depends on the faculty members, and it depends on your program of study. I've been assigned prerequisite classes, but I'm taking a test-out exam for those classes. When will the results of the test-out exam be announced so I know for which classes to register? This is not unusual, not uncommon. So many of our students take prerequisite test-outs. And particularly if a student says, I don't need these deficiency courses, and they're going to demonstrate proficiency by taking a test-out. And that's very common in computer science, industrial engineering, and so on. And so obviously, we will get to these as soon as possible. Typically, it's going to take 1 to 2 weeks for the results to be returned to you. Now, this is going to depend on how many students have set for the test out, how many faculty members are available to review these exams. and the time of year we're in. So right now it's a slower time of year for us as we have gotten through finals and kind of settled into the summer. And so I would think 1 to 2 weeks would be a typical time frame for that. If it's taking longer, though, please let us know. You can send an email to those email addresses that we showed earlier, and we'd be happy to help you out with that. Speaking
All right,
of,
so let's switch screens now. We're going to go to the more recently received questions. And so we're going to go through these one by one. All right, so how are hybrid courses different from the regular ones? Maybe I'll take that one because I'm actually going to teach a hybrid course in the fall, as it turns out. And so a hybrid course, it's meant to combine really with the best of both worlds. So it's meant to use both online resources as well as on-campus resources. So for example, in my own particular case, I'll be teaching a course on energy management in the fall. And so we'll have the equivalent of 2 lectures that are going to be held in an online format, right? But we're going to meet face-to-face once a week for 50 minutes every week. And so that's what I would consider to be a hybrid course. So it's not online. It's actually kind of closer to an on-campus course, but it uses online resources. Bank loan.
All right, I'll take that one. The question is, I've taken a bank loan. Will it be okay if my bank pays ASU at the beginning of fall 17 in one payment? And how will bank pay my tuition fees? The answer is yes. They just have to make sure that they make the payment by the deadline. And then how will bank pay my tuition? They can send it through ACH or wire it to the university or mail a check. But again, that would need to be here in advance of that deadline to make sure it gets posted in your account. Okay, so there's still a hold on my account, although I sent my financial documents 20 days ago. Is there any chance I can register for classes that are already full? So it's kind of a 2-part question here. If you've sent your international document or your bank statement, financial guarantee, passport 20 days ago, we have it. Again, we're just processing those as fast as we possibly can. It's our busiest time of the year for that. As Pat mentioned earlier, we have over 10,000 international students, and then we probably have about 5,000 or 6,000 new international students starting in the fall, and they all need an I-20. So you can imagine we get a little bit bogged down right now. But again, we will make sure to get that I-20 to you by your deadline. So there won't be any issues with that. Is there any chance I can register for classes that are already full? The answer to that is no, but we will make room and accommodation as much as we can.
right, so our faculty are monitoring classes that are full. We have some parameters, right? We have classroom constraints, faculty constraints. So we don't have unlimited bandwidth in terms of faculty. We don't have unlimited infrastructure in terms of classroom. That said, we monitor our class enrollments on a daily basis. And as classes fill up, we try to quickly hire more faculty if needed, secure more classrooms as available to offer more classes. So I assure you, you will have 9 to 12 credit hours available for you to register in. In the event that the class that you wanted at the time you wanted was not available, we will do our best to accommodate you. So if the ideal class was not available, we will do the next best thing. But I promise you, you will have a full schedule. Our academic advisors, our professionals, their job is to troubleshoot and to make sure that you are successful as students. And so if you tell them, here's my puzzle, right? I need to find these classes within this schedule. They are the folks that are dedicated to walking with you step by step to make sure all of the classes you need are available. And if the classes that you absolutely want aren't available, then let's find the next best thing.
And as an international student, you have to be a full-time student. So we will work with engineering to be sure that you, as an international student, have a full-time status.
Yes.
I'd like to add to that too. During the first semester of classes, I think it was Mike talking about the deadlines, or Jeremy, one of them. And so during that first week of classes, there's a lot of switching around going on, and very often seats open up during that first week as people drop those classes and pick up other ones. So that's very common, very common. Next question. Maybe Jeremy question?
Sure. So what's the difference in opting to do a big data concentration instead of the general master's in computer science? So it's interesting. Masters in computer science, like many of our degree programs, have different flavors or different concentrations. So I'm not the best equipped to tell you the difference between big data and a general Masters of Computer Science. You can definitely read about those if you go through degree search and read through the different program descriptions. You can read about the research that some of the faculty who teach these programs are involved with. You can read about some of the career paths that are available. But the best way to answer that question is to definitely talk to the faculty members, ask them what they do with big data, talk to your academic advisors. So the good news is that big data and MCS, Masters in Computer Science, are in the same program. They're in the same school. And so if you wanted to switch from one to the other, that's not impossible. That's something you can do. I would say do your homework first. Talk to the faculty, talk to the academic advisors, go to the Career Center. Ask folks in the Career Center, what is the career path for someone with a big data concentration versus someone with the general MCS? Also, look at the curricula, right? So the curriculum for big data is going to be different than the curriculum for the general Masters in Computer Science, and see which one is a little more interesting to you. If one sounds more interesting, you find yourself drawn more to big data, then go for it. Jump in there. We do allow you to customize your programs of study, and so that's something that you should do in consultation with your academic advisor.
Next question, very similar, somewhat.
So right, you can change anytime you would like. However, just keep in mind, once you get a semester or two into a program, right, you're kind of going down the road towards a program of study. We want all students to sort of finish up their program of study and finalize it at the end of their second semester. And so once you've done that, you're kind of locked into your curriculum. So it's not impossible, but after the second semester, if you decide to change concentrations, you run the risk of taking courses that are no longer going to apply to your new concentration. So the earlier you can make this decision, the better.
More registration questions.
Kind of address that. Very few options to register for the 500 level courses. Will the same courses be available in the upcoming semesters? Is there any way to get the courses that have no seats available for the semester? Yeah, so I think as Pat mentioned, right, there are courses that will become available all throughout the registration cycle. Yes, we often offer the same courses in the fall and the spring. Other ways to get the courses that have no seats available. If it's critical that you need to take a course, let us know. So keep the lines of communication open. Let us know why you need the course that's full and why it's critical, and we will work with you, as I mentioned earlier, to make sure we are accommodating you to the best of our ability.
And I think it's important to explain, the whole drop ad period, because sometimes students, especially internationals, don't understand that. What is the whole idea of drop an ad? Do you want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, so yeah, during that first week of the semester, with no penalty whatsoever, you can drop and add courses, as you like. Of course, to add a course, it has to be open, but a lot of students do that. And so that is an opportunity to move into a course that might have been full, just before the semester. And one other comment is that, especially when the academic advisors, when they see that the courses are full, they try their best to move them into a bigger classroom.
Correct.
Right? So that happens quite often as well. So there will be some seats that open up kind of last minute sometimes if they're able to find a bigger classroom for it. Correct.
And then the wait list as well. So many times students decide not to come, so they're dropped from classes. So waitlisted students get into those classes as well. So
That's correct. Yep.
yeah, because not everybody who's gotten into the class plans to come to ASU. So
Good point.
they may not come, or
Good
they
point. Yes. So lots of options.
Yeah, lots of options.
CPT question.
Will ASU and the Fulton schools allow CPT next year? It's not up to ASU or Fulton School. CPT is a curricular practical training. is in the federal regulations. These are the U.S. government regulations. So unless the U.S. government changes the regulations, nothing changes from our side. So as an international student, after you've done 2 academic semesters of classes, you're allowed to do CPT, that is curricular practical training, and you can work up to a year outside of the university in your field of study for a CPT. So that is not changing. Yes.
Maybe to add one
Yeah.
more comment. So I know some programs in engineering have not been particularly accommodating of CPT. In fact, mechanical engineering is one of them. But mechanical engineering next year will be offering CPT.
Yes.
Yeah, and I suspect other programs will be as well.
And in that way, the Career Center, Engineering Career Center, is very, very active.
Yes.
And they seek out students who want these opportunities, and they are very, very helpful.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
CPT will become more and more available
Absolutely.
from this year on.
Yes.
I-20.
So I haven't yet got my I-20. What is the last date I can schedule a visa interview? What is the last date by which I need to be on campus? So a couple questions here. Again, we're working on getting those I-20s out as quickly as possible. The last date that we can issue an I-20 is basically 30 days before classes begin. So classes start August 17th, so it would be July 17th. And again, we're also monitoring consulate times for those interviews. So if there's a consulate that's a waiting time that's a little bit longer, we're putting those I-20s at the top of the pile. So the last date which you can schedule a visa interview is largely determined by the consulate, but you can see those times on the consulate's website. And then what is the last date which I need to be on campus? Well, the orientations are August 8th. So I would actually recommend trying to get here a few days earlier than that, probably around the 4th at least, to give you some time to acclimate to the climate here in Arizona, because it's a little hot that time of year, but also to get over some jet lag too. So
And you're allowed to come 30 days
Yep.
before the I-20 date that's listed. So I would recommend that try to come early so you can get used to the environment here. But if you need to make exceptions, we work very closely. The engineering works closely with admissions, with the international office, so we accommodate people as much as we can.
So the question is, I haven't got a guarantee of funding. If I plan to attend the school this fall, what are funding options available and what chances to get funding? The first place we recommend is to go to scholarships.asu.edu to look at some scholarships available, but some of the departments may also.
Yeah, so I think we talked about on-campus employment. So that's an opportunity that, as we mentioned, fully 75% of our international students take advantage of. And so that is one option. The other options, as you probably are aware, are research assistantships and teaching assistantships. For the most part, RAs and TAs go to PhD level students. Now that's not always the case, but usually that is the case. RAs are decided by individual faculty members. And so what that means is it'll be important for you to establish a relationship with a faculty member. And so that is your route, a possible route to receiving an RA. Teaching assistantships, again, primarily these go to PhD level students, but not always. Primarily they do though. So each program has their own process for applying for a teaching assistantship. And so what you should do in this case then is to go to the graduate program chair for your particular program. They're the people who actually make the decisions on the teaching assistantships for their program.
At the same time, I want to emphasize the funding. If there are issues with the funding to begin with, in the sense that the majority of the funding cannot be arranged from home country, it's very difficult to arrange that once you are in the U.S. And for students to think that the university can provide both the funding for education as well as living would not be right. So I would recommend that have your funding in place before you take the next steps. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for the university itself and for the student to arrange all that at the last moment.
Medical report. Maybe
MMR, but the report doesn't have my name on it. It has my birth date and my parents' name. Will that report be accepted? You probably want to call our student health office. or email them. Again, you can email them at measles@asu.edu or immunization@asu.edu. I'm not 100% sure how to, but they would be able to answer that question, and they'll respond within a day or two to clarify that. But that's a great question, and I will follow up with them as well to maybe put that information out if that's a common question. I've not heard that before.
Well, hopefully it's not a common.
Yeah,
It's a very
it's not.
unique situation.
Yeah.
So.
But again, measles@asu.edu or immunizations@asu.edu, and they'll be able to answer. Okay. So same I-20 question. I'm seeing a theme. So I got admission to the Master of Science in Computer Science last week, and I've uploaded my financial documents. It typically takes 10 to 15 business days to process those documents and match them up to your record. Business days, so essentially 2 to 3 weeks. And then once we've processed those documents, it can take another couple weeks to actually submit the I-20. So right now we're on the high end of that time. And we're processing them as quickly as possible. But there's no need to send emails and ask that because you will be notified once your CVIS number is available in your MyASU account. So just keep an eye out. Look at, like Holly has mentioned and emphasized, that keep checking that ASU email address or your email box, because we'll let you know once that I-20 has been processed and when your CVIS ID is available. And then after that, you'll get your I-20 mail time, so 7 to 10 days, depending on how long it takes to mail to you. But ultimately, again, we will email you once your CVIS ID number is available. It's looking like we'll be pretty much caught up by the end of next week. So if you sent everything, you should see your CVIS ID number in your MyASU account probably by the end of next week at the latest. So about a week and a half, we should be all caught up with those. Another registration question. Topical courses.
So it sounds like topical courses are probably related area courses, or they could be special topics like a 598 course. So 598 special topics, as the name suggests, will vary from topic to topic. Can a full-time grad student enroll for one along with your other regular courses? Yes, you can enroll in a special topics course or a topical course. I would just, again, encourage you to work with your academic advisor. You want to make sure that the courses you're enrolling in actually are going to be applicable to your program of study.
Yeah, so 598 courses, the topical courses, that's how you begin a class, a new class. It is listed as 598 until it's been offered several times, and then it'll get converted to a regular course number, right? This is a related question. Maybe I'll just take this. Yeah, so again, 598, it means it's a new class, a topical class. It does not yet have a regular course number. All right, but for the most part, though, these courses are fully accepted throughout the curriculum. But as Jeremy said, one should always check, of course, with your academic advisor. The N98 does not mean that it's advanced, and the 02 doesn't mean anything either, for that matter. 502 is a mathematics course, and it just happened to get that 502. 5, as we've mentioned before, means it's a graduate level course.
Yeah. It's fifth year, fourth is
there we go.
fourth year, third is third year, so.
Freshman student.
The graduate international freshman.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
Okay.
I would recommend attending the International Graduate Student Orientation and also the Indian Student Orientation on the 8th and 9th of August. So an International Graduate Freshman student doesn't technically exist. It would be a graduate international first year student. Yeah. A freshman student is somebody in their first year after high school, so that those types of orientations do not apply to graduate students.
That's why we have the graduate conference that we do.
Yeah, graduate conference.
Yeah.
It's campus jobs. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, but the easiest place to go is just do a search for ASU jobs, and then you'll link to our job site, and you can look for student employment. And then they'll list at Polytechnic campus. There's jobs here at Tempe campus, and that's the best way to look for those jobs. There are a lot of options available. I think at one point at our peak, we'll have close to 5,000 student workers across all of our campus locations. So any key pieces of advice that will help you get the right job, again, look for student employment jobs, and then maybe filter your search by campus location. If you're working at Polytechnic campus, it may not be a good idea to get a job at the Tempe campus, because even though we have the free shuttle between the campus locations, it's still about a 45-minute ride. So that would be an hour and a half out of your day just commuting between the campuses. So again, search for student jobs, and then maybe search by your campus, and then even drill down a little bit further by looking at jobs within your college or maybe within admissions. We have a lot of student jobs. There's just a ton of options. Again, there'll be about 4,000 or 5,000 different options for you.
Just to add to that, in my experience, when when I post a student job, searching by the job title is not very effective. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to work.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it doesn't seem to work very well. And so, try to do your search as broadly as possible. If you're searching for a specific job title, again, in my experience, it does not work very well.
At the same time, most of the international students don't have that much work experience, especially in the American arena, so as to say. So any job that they apply and get would give them so much new experience that it's going to be worthwhile.
Yes.
And you can always change jobs. You're not stuck with one job. After 2 months you decide this is not what you want, then you can always look for another job. That's not a problem at all.
Yep. And apply for more than one. I would recommend as well.
Yeah, we would recommend apply to many jobs.
There's a lot of competition for those.
Correct.
Sure. So this is a TA question, and so again, the TA-ships, the teaching assistantships, are decided by the relevant graduate program chair for that particular program. So that's the first person that you ought to go and see or send an email to. But probably I would encourage you to go and see them after you arrive, because that face-to-face interaction is really what's most important. This is a related question, and sure, as a PhD student, especially, of course, to make that relationship with a faculty advisor, and this is now going to become your thesis advisor or your research advisor. So that's crucial, and it has to be done. Now, in terms of the chances of securing a TA after reaching the campus, that varies by program. Again, as a PhD level student, you're actually kind of in the front of the line with respect to TA offers, and so that part is to your advantage. Now, most programs have probably already committed their TAs for the fall semester, but openings do come up. And so again, I encourage you to reach out to the graduate program chair for your program. I think we are out of time.
Yes. Thank you all for your questions.
Yeah, thank you all very much for attending. This will be posted on the engineering website. And again, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.